Hello friends, my name's Daniel SHAE and I'm an American video game composer, and today, does my hand look weird? Does this make my hand look fat? Okay, how do I get music into my video game, film, or other project? This is a good question, so let us explore. You've got four options you can go with. One, you can do the music yourself. Oh God, my hand keeps disappearing. I need to move over here. Okay. Two, you can look for collections of music that are free. There are lots of collections of free music out there, basically, that you don't have to pay royalties on. That's an option. Three, you can purchase sync licenses to music that's already written and recorded. Or four, you can hire a composer. I'm going to advocate on behalf of that and say that's your best option. Hire a composer. But anyway, we'll go through all four of these. The first one, doing the music yourself. How do I say this nicely? You can hear a toilet running. That's how you know it's professional video. See, I should have hired, a videographer, but sometimes you're on a budget. In general, unless you're John Carpenter or someone of his ilk, generally speaking, it's a bad idea to try and do the music yourself. Like, I should not be doing the video production myself right here, right now. But c'est la vie. The second option, I don't even remember the second thing I said, man. I'm supposed to remember what I say? Free music. There is a lot of free music out there. There are almost no instances where I would say it's okay to just go grab free music. Everybody working on a student project or working as a hobbyist is using that stuff, and people can tell, right? People go to view this work of art that you've been building for however many months or years you've been working on it, and they hear the same music that they've heard in like 1,000 low budget, shall we call them shitty projects. They're going to associate you with the shitty projects, and you don't want people to associate your work with shitty projects. You can do better than that. So my advice would be one of the last two options. Either go find the professionally written and recorded quality music that's available out there and purchase a sync license for it. There are lots of websites like MusicBed. If you go to MusicBed, they're going to ask you for your budget. Music that's already professionally written and recorded, that's going to cost you at minimum $50 a track. Custom written music is going to be more than that, most likely, unless you're friends with a sucker. But consider that if you're friends with a sucker, they're not going to be able to sustain themselves on cheap or free, right? You are killing your buddy. Don't kill a composer. It's worth noting that you can always find a composer that you really like and ask, hey, you've got these pieces that you've written, I really like them, would you be interested in directly selling me a sync license to one or more of them? You are liable to get a better deal going directly to the composer. Or the fourth avenue, the best avenue, again, because I myself am a video game composer, I would always recommend hiring a composer to write your soundtrack. For a number of reasons. Every project is unique, right? You've spent a lot of time on your project. It's like a baby to you, right? Their job is to breathe a voice into your work. At the end of the day, it's about your work. Everybody can stand to gain from music, right? Even puzzle games. Look at Tetris. It still tends to top most of the best games of all time charts, right? Like, it's a puzzle game, and its soundtrack is one of the most iconic tunes of all time, right? But within that, understand there are some limitations you may run into, especially on an indie budget, right? Most indie budgets are not able to accommodate the purchasing of IP, right? IP is very expensive. And for good reason. IP can generate a lot of income, revenue from album sales. You can put your music on Pandora, Spotify, Apple Radio, etc. Royalty revenue. You can sell sync licenses to TV slots or any number of other things. IP can be very expensive, and it is likely that if you're on an indie budget, you probably won't be able to own the music that you are contracting the composer to write for you, but it will be custom written. Music is pretty costly to make because there are a lot of hands in the pot, more often than not. Let me explain. There's no time to explain. Let me sum up. On top of what goes into writing the music, you have to be able to record the music, right? Which means you have to hire musicians who can all play instruments and own instruments, or play and record the music yourself. I call her Vera. On top of writing and recording the music, which already can take 10 to 20, maybe even 40 hours of work, depending on the length and complexity of the piece, you then have to send it off to an audio engineer to get it mixed and mastered. You have to file a copyright, which costs another $35. long story short, even if you have your own studio and you're not having to rely on the schedule of another studio and the cost of renting time in that studio, doing it yourself means you've got the burden of all that cost yourself, and it is expensive. So again, music is not necessarily cheap. If you've hired a composer to do the score for your game, film, or other project, but you're on the lower range indie budget, basically just paying the composer for their time, you're not purchasing the IP itself, it is totally within reason for you to request from the composer a period of exclusivity. So discuss it, come up with a projected release date for your product. That's you don't want to say, oh, it's going to take me 20 years to finish this, because nobody's going to agree to that. But come up with a reasonable projected release date and say, okay, we're releasing this July 4th, 2018. In addition to the license you are providing me to use this custom tailored music, please allot me a period of exclusivity that extends to a year past that date. So if you're releasing it July 4th, 2018 until July 4th, 2019, you're the only one that gets to use that music for the singular project agreed upon between you and the composer. You're not going to run off and use it for a bunch of other things. But during that time, you're the only one who gets to use it, right? And the composer cannot sell sync licenses to other people, can't use it in their own projects, can't let other people use it in their projects for free, can't sell the IP, any of that without written permission from you for that period of exclusivity. Once the period of exclusivity is up, then the composer retains all rights to release their own albums, sell sync licenses, sell the IP, etc., etc. I would strongly urge anyone hiring a composer to push for that. Definitely know what you like. It's important that you know what you like. You don't have to know everything about music theory, but you should at least know like what kind of music you like. If you're making a video game and need a soundtrack for your video game, well, what video game soundtracks do you like? What are some video games that are sort of similar, and again, don't make a knockoff, but sort of similar to what you're trying to do, and what worked about those soundtracks? What did you like about those soundtracks? And tell the composer. You tell the composer, hey, this is what my game is about. These are what the underlying themes are. This is the subtext. This is the mood. This is what I want people to feel while they're playing it, right? I want them to have this kind of unique experience. And the composer takes that and they very intentionally use their knowledge of music theory and, you know, the brain side of things, and then the heart side of things, the inspiration and the passion and the natural creative juices, and they combine all of that and put themselves into it and give something that kind of breathes life into your project and gives it its unique voice, right? That's their job. But trust the composer. It is critical that you trust the composer, especially if it's a composer that's been doing it for decades, right? It's the composer's job to know what will work best, right? I keep itching my nose. Is that inappropriate? I just used itch as a verb. Is it wrong to scratch my nose? Can I do that on camera? We live in a world where people have kind of gotten these warped expectations, where we've got websites like Fiverr. People think you can demand a professional quality corporate logo for $5, and it's costing that graphic designer not only like all of their education to get to where they are, 40 hours of work to make you the perfect corporate logo, and you're wanting it for $5. We've got to have more realistic expectations than that. Everybody's a little picky. It's good to get what you want, but if you are that, like, if you're that guy, and we know who that guy is, we've all been there, right? You can spend hours working on a thing, and this person who's paying you $15 is gonna want 40,000 rewrites. Listen, kid, with all due respect, I'm gonna level with you. I know the game takes place in Scotland, but I've never been there, and I don't actually intend to go. I don't like bagpipes. I don't know what a flat major 7 chord is, and I sure as hell haven't heard of a mixolydian. Here's what I do know. I like ukuleles. If I can't get an entire soundtrack of ukulele music, then frankly I don't see the point. Whatever you do, if you're hiring anybody, don't be that guy. Consider hiring me, because I just did the last of my cocaine, and if I come down before the end of this video, you guys are going to watch me die on camera. Check out my website, Daniel SHAE, and it's spelled SHAE. I know that's weird, man. It's backwards from the butter. DANIELSHAE.co. Hire me.